Change your life. Get a ball python. Pretty much, when people ask for ball pythons, they don't do the right thing. They always just ask for it, but they're never prepared for this guy. As you see, it looks like he's trying to choke me, but he's actually not. He's in a shedding phase, and I just put him around my neck so I wouldn't have to do this video single-handedly. And what he's doing is just moving around my neck, and he's trying to get scales off, which is pretty disgusting. But if I try to get him off right now, he won't get off. Trust me. So, so like, when people ask for dogs or cats to their parents, they always ask for the main thing. The dog. The cat. The lizard. Or whatever. But the reason why parents go all, it's gonna poop everywhere. How are you gonna feed it? And you're saying they're being annoying? Of course they are. But you have to have reasons behind. In my last video on research can actually get you closer to getting that animal. And pretty much my steps to actually asking for stuff is actually 70% actually accurate. But you need the stuff behind to getting this ball python. And I'm going to show you how to set up a ball python cage or any other snake's cage. And maybe this can even help for other kind of animals to get you prepared. So, I'm going to get up and show you the cage. See, the first thing you need is the cage itself. It needs to be very glass. If it's going to be a ball python, it needs to be glass. Absolutely glass. Unless, if it's plastic, to give heat, you need to put maybe a heat pad, but those most likely never work as good as a normal light, which you always need second. I'll turn this off and show you how it looks. These things are very crucial. This is the absence of his heat. If he doesn't have heat, he'll pretty much freeze up and die. His cage always needs to be about 80 degrees, but you can't just have any old lamp. It has to be exactly a heat lamp. But you don't have to buy those expensive ones from like Petco or whatever. See, this is just like a garage lamp. It actually gives off heat, and his cage is always about 80 degrees. And it kind of burns after. So these are always the most important. And always for these, these are only for glass ones, not plastic. Plastic are very cheap and they'll break easily, and they're most likely to melt with these kind of lamps. And then next you need, after you get the cage and the lamp, and this is always going to be before you get this ball python right here. You have to get the screen. The screen is actually the part that he doesn't run away in the night, because they're nocturnal, and this guy gets really active and he tries to escape, and he's not like getting away like, oh, this is horror or this is hell, I need to get out of here. No, it's actually because he needs lots of exercise, and sometimes cages, when he gets too big, this isn't an actual cage, this is just an old cage. When he gets too big, he wants to get more space, and actually it always depends. You can either get the very tall ones, which actually are pretty cool, but I'd actually recommend for the long ones, because the long ones actually give more space to look at, and it's easier to take care of in a wide one. And make sure the screen is not plastic. Always try to make sure you get like a metal one. But of course this one's plastic, and it's metal right here. It's metal right here, and it's kind of dirty and old because it's really old cage. And there's holes right here, which actually gives me an advantage to feed, because all you have to do is drop this guy and drop the mouse or rat or whatever you're feeding this guy, and he's in. And there's little really old locks, as you can see. They really get stuck sometimes. That's totally fine. And if it is plastic, make sure to get the expensive plastic, not the little toy like toy train or toy car kind of plastic, because this is very crucial, because with that kind of lamp, as I got going on here, this can actually melt it, and it actually did melt this one. Because I put it on top of the screen, which I actually recommend if it's not plastic, to put it on top of the screen, because you'll get better, higher the cage temperature results. And actually melted it right about here, as you can see. It looks like it made a hole, but it didn't. Just made a big lump, like a ditch lump. But it's the expensive plastic, so if I just put on that little shelf up there, it's actually fine. The plastic won't melt. And people always say, "Oh, I need to get the best kind." You actually don't. Even breeders use less than this. Like, their cages are so ghetto. Like, they're probably, this cage is probably 10 times the size. Okay, not 10, but like 5 times the size of their cages, because they have to save money, and they just put them in these plastic tubes with no heat, just only one lamp at the top. And since they use plastic tubes, which actually get broken if they're at the top of the stack, and which, since it's plastic, it carries down heat, not like if it was glass. So the screening is actually keeps your snake safe. And for if yours has holes, then it's probably not for a snake. It's probably for probably for a frog. This is a big frog cage, but yeah. And pretty much I just use these coffee cups. Make sure they're glass, and just put them over the hole. And second, what you need is a thermometer. And everybody's saying, like, "Cody, you gotta have these circle things or whatever." Like, actually, yeah, those are effective, but they don't work. Pretty much all they do is just take the temperature, and they're cheap, and they actually break easily. When you just use a human one, which you just put in the cage like that. And since I have those holes in the screen, it actually is easier. Just put the thermometer in the hole, and I can take the temperature without opening the cage door and waking up the snake. And of course, right now, since I took the lamp out for a little, it's 79.4, which is actually pretty good. His cage is averaging around about 83, 84, 85, around there. So after you get this thermometer, you actually want to get secondary lights. And secondary lights, see, this is the main lamp up here. That one you want to get put on about 8 in the morning to about 7 at night, or 7 in the morning to about 8 at night. It doesn't really matter. But what I do is, to make the snake more calmer, is actually get different kinds of lights. The main light is pretty much on all day, but when it gets about 6 in the morning or 7 at night, what I do is actually I call it the dawn light. And what I do is turn off this main light and turn on the room light, and it actually gets pretty dark in the cage. And what it'll do is, like, if it's in the morning, he'll be warned to be like, "Yo, get back in the hide," or, because no matter how tame your snakes are, they're always gonna think they're in the wild, and their predators they're awake during the day. A ball python's predators, and they live around in Africa, South Africa, if you actually can find a good one. And just to recommend, after you get all the stuff after the video, always trying to get one of these guys that have been born in captivity. Those are always the best, unless you're a breeder and you care about all that crap, then whatever, you can do whatever. But if you just want one for a pet, or maybe just to breed, but you take good care of them using this stuff and not just those plastic tubes, make sure to get them in captivity, because less disease they'll have, and they'll be cheaper. 80 bucks compared to $1,000, you know. And these guys, I don't know why they're so expensive, but everybody just wants them like that. And there's like two different types of, well, there's more than two, but I'm just gonna give two examples. There's tens of species of these guys. There's the jungle, and there's like the albino. And albinos look pretty cool, but I honestly think this normal guy, he's a normal ball python, and I think these guys are the most beautiful. So yeah. So after you get that dawn light going, what I do about 5 in the morning and 9 at night, oh yeah, what I do is turn on this light, this little light, and you just stand at the top of the cage, and it looks like a moonlight kind of. And what you do is turn off that light and have this, and at night it actually looks pretty cool, especially if you put it over a water bowl or a water bowl right here. There's a water bowl right there. I'm just going to turn his main light back on just so you guys get the idea. And moonlight, these lights can actually make him calmer, but never use these during the day because he's going to be asleep. And yeah. And so after you get the cage, the screen door, and the lamp, what you want to do now is actually get the bedding for the cage. And honestly, I think you should use Aspen bedding. Right there. Aspen. Aspen is actually non-toxic, and if you pour water on it, it actually absorbs it really fast. And if your snake poops after he eats, all you have to do is just scoop it up and throw it away and just cover it with more Aspen instead of with some that get really dirty fast, if you know what I mean. Instead of just cleaning out the whole thing and wasting some money, just clean out that one thing. And that's why I recommend Aspen, which is actually the best. After you get the bedding, the lamp, then you gotta get something where you can actually eat or drink, which I recommend this water bowl. And there's water in it, but I don't want to spill it, but you can probably buy these really cheap at Petco. Go around 10 to 15 bucks. Yeah, cheap, right? It's not actually cheap, but you can make homemade ones. And make sure the homemade ones are not plastic and not actually like clay is actually pretty good, but I wouldn't recommend making it like homemade like clay. Get like some glass, like really short shot, like see right here. I have a little Bengals shot glass, and these shot glasses, if you can get them short enough and wide enough, they can actually be pretty good, and you don't have to waste a lot of money. And you also need mice or rats or pinkies. And if you have a corn snake, I honestly don't know what to give because those things look so tiny. They don't even look like they can eat a pinky. But like if you see them in the store, they're like not even an inch wide. They're really tiny. And then once you get all this stuff, one of the most important things after you get after this is actually these hides. And of course there's a little hole so we can get in. And this is actually a homemade one, because actual hides, they suck and they're actually very expensive. And you see it's very smooth, so if he tries to get in and he's actually in a hurry or something, he doesn't get cut. It's actually very smooth. He actually rubs against it a lot for shedding. And you just put it in the cage like it's nothing. And after you have the hide, I recommend 2 hides all the time. One hide that only has 1 entry, like that one, which is actually he's going to use the most. But you can always have a secondary hide or something, and just put it on like these ones normally have like 2 entries or 3 entries. And these ones, I wouldn't get these first, especially if you get a new habitat or something, because they get very stressed and they don't trust you very much because there's so many holes in it. They think you can grab it from anywhere.